Hello, everyone. How are you? It's so fun to be here with you today. I'm going to just move my face over here so I don't get in the way. I am absolutely thrilled to be chatting today about our favorite subject, sugar, right? It's something that I would say it's like the most socially acceptable addictive habit that we have today. Really, truly. I know like alcohol these days, more and more people are kind of trying to steer away from it, but we don't really talk about processed sugar and how harmful it can be to our emotional well being, our body. So we're just going to dive in today and we're going to talk about it. And I'm super excited. I want to ask you a question and I want you to write down or just think about your answer right now. And then I want you to listen as we discuss everything. And I want to know if your answer is the same when we're done. So, my question to you is, do you agree or disagree that cocaine is just as addictive as processed sugar? So, think about that, answer it now, and then tell me what you think after we have this conversation. Today, we're going to cover what's so bad about sugar anyway. We're going to really look and try to dig out and find those hidden sugars that are everywhere that are very surprising. And then we're going to talk about what happens to our body and our brain when we give it too much sugar. We're going to talk about artificial sweeteners. Are healthy sugars better for us? Does it do the exact same thing to our body that processed sugar does? We're also going to talk about practical ways, real ways to kick the sugar habit so that we can naturally lose weight, or some of us may need to gain weight and just to feel better. We're going to talk about how to do that with regenerative superfoods grown in nutrient-dense soil. And we're also going to talk about the underlying drivers of sugar cravings and how I can help you, because there's a reason for it, and we're going to talk about it. About me, I am a regenerative health practitioner and I specialize in holistic weight management. I really steer clear of the diet culture. I don't believe in it. I believe it. Here's what I honestly believe. I believe if diets worked, there would be one diet, it would work one time, and we'd only have to do it once. Right? We wouldn't have a million diet plans out there. So we steer clear of that. Today, together, we're going to work to just to really bid farewell to harmful eating habits. We're going to ditch processed sugars, but we're also going to embrace nutrient-rich superfoods. And we're going to talk more and more about that. My mission in life is to empower individuals to embrace a sustainable lifestyle change, not this quick fix. My story was 7 years ago. I was actually diagnosed with a really, really scary disease. And I never want any of you to get that phone call. I want us to prevent that. For those of you that may have gotten that phone call, I'm here to tell you, you can get on the other side of that. I'm on the other side of that bridge, and I'm just reaching out. And I love, love, love helping clients walk over that bridge and get to the other side, because it is possible. When we give our body the terrain, the environment that it needs, in regenerative health, we believe that the body itself can heal. There's nothing that we have to do to magically make it happen. We just have to get the environment right so that our bodies can do the job itself. So let's talk about it. What is sugar? I believe we all know what sugar is. I'm talking about sugar. Like for me, when I was a kid, no doubt, no judging, but I would have a bowl of cereal, like Cheerios, right? And no joke, I'm not exaggerating. I would probably add 3 cups of the white crystalline sugar, like the table sugar, to my cereal. Like by the end of it, you have your milk left, the cereal's gone, and you could just pick up the spoonfuls of sugar. Gross, right? But there's different types of sugar that I want to talk about. Sugars that you may not even know or recognize that there's actually sugar. There's fructose in fruit. We're going to talk about that. There's lactose in milk. Lactose is actually sugar. Maltose in grains. So actually all carbs and sugars, they all break down to glucose, which our cells need. We need glucose to make energy, but we're going to talk about the good stuff and the not so great stuff. This workshop, this talk, is not about no carbs or worrying about the sugars in whole foods like carrots and fruit and good whole foods. That is not what we're talking about. Remember, this is not a diet. We're going to focus on the quality of the sugar that we're eating. We're going to eliminate, if possible, or limit refined sugars and those hidden sugars, and the importance of replacing them with regeneratively grown superfoods. This isn't about let's just stop doing it. We actually have to replace that with something else. And we'll talk about what that looks like. What is refined sugar anyway? When you think of sugar, like we just talked about, it's that white table sugar, we call it, right? The white crystalline that a lot of us put in our cereal as kids. This is the refined sugar made from sugarcane or the sugar beet plant. You guys, if you were just to go out to the garden and pick the sugar beet plant and eat it, your body is like, oh, it recognizes it as food. Your body's like, okay, this makes sense. But what we do when we process the sugar, that's the kind of refined sugar we're talking about. It's the sugar production is what strips all the minerals and vitamins from the plant, creating that white crystalline powder. And it's oftentimes almost always modified. You've heard of genetically modified. That just means it was a plant and they modified it into something that our body literally does not recognize as that original plant. And a lot of times it's covered in unsafe herbicides, which we call, a lot of times it's called glyphosate, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. This is the type of sugar that we're eating way too much of. Today, you guys, sugar dominates our food supply. It's in everything. We know some of the things, if you pick up a Snicker bar, you know, oh, there's tons of sugar in there. But there's sugar in biscuits, bread, cakes, soft drinks, tomato sauce, salad dressings, marinades. You name it. It's even in toothpaste. That just blows my mind. We're brushing our teeth to get rid of the sugar, but there's sugar in toothpaste. Yeah, sugar in disguise. Really look at some of these names, you guys, because this is what is surprising and shocking to people. Did you know that maltose is actually sugar? That carob syrup is sugar? Dextrin is sugar? Look at all of these. Fructose is sugar. So what I'm going to teach you is how important it is when you're out and about and you're at the grocery store to really look at the ingredients and see. It's not going to say sugar. There's going to be some hidden words in there that we want to be mindful of so that we can steer clear of them. This is something I will never, ever, ever say it's okay in moderation. High fructose corn syrup is awful. It just is. It's actually banned in most countries. And for some reason, it is not here. I don't know why. Hopefully that's coming. It's found in soft drinks, in processed foods. It's actually a byproduct of corn manufacturing. It's sweeter and cheaper than glucose, which is why they use it. So here's the deal. It has to be processed by our liver. High fructose corn syrup, our liver is what processes all of the toxins in our body, and high fructose corn syrup is one of the major ones. And so it's actually one of the leading causes of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it actually increases triglycerides and cholesterols. It increases intestinal permeability. What does that mean? So we have these tight junctions in the gut lining of our gut. And when we have high fructose corn syrup, those tight junctions open and it lets things into our lymphatic system, into our bloodstream that we don't want in there. The tight junctions are there in our gut for a reason. We don't want to let anything in there. So we want to stay away from this. That gut permeability, intestinal permeability, it leads to inflammation, allergies, IBS, autoimmune. So it drives obesity like nothing else. I always say avoid it like the plague. Do not. There's zero reason to have high fructose corn syrup. We were born in a low sugar human society. Our genes evolved in a low sugar world. We ate complex carbs, fats, and proteins. In olden days, we used to eat 20 teaspoons a year of sugar. Compared to now, we're eating 17 teaspoons a day. It's no wonder there's a rise in disease and a rise in mental anxiety, depression. We'll talk more about that later. And think about our kids. We send our kids off to school with 17 teaspoons of sugar a day. Insulin. Let's talk about insulin. It's our fat storage hormone. Insulin, we need it. It was designed to store away any extra glucose. Anything extra that we get into our body, it stores as fat in times when we don't have enough. Way back when, remember our ancestors, they had to go hunt and gather their food. And in the winter times, or when the food wasn't plenty, that glucose was stored as a storage. unit. Does that make sense? Right? But here's what's going on. We never use up that storage. And so that's part of the problem, which is why excess fat is many times just excess waste in our body. So let's think back. Now we have 24-hour supermarkets with sugar-laden shelves, right? You walk into a supermarket and there's a million options, and a lot of it is filled with sugar. But there's no winter, there's no famine, there's no long hikes to find food or calorie to burn up those fat stores. That's part of the problem. We are still the same as our ancestors. We are very well designed to store that excess sugar as fat, but we have more sedentary lifestyles. We're more chronically stressed, we don't sleep enough, and we eat way too much sugar. Look what happens to our brain when we eat too much sugars. Like, studies have actually connected excessive sugar and fat consumption to reduce performance in parts of the brain that deal with memory. Studies have shown a worrisome connection between sugar and high blood pressure and heart disease. We know that excess sugar intake is strongly associated with weight gain, even in people who exercise regularly. Too much sugar starts to create insulin resistance, which causes people to crave more food, especially sugar. And this, unfortunately, can contribute to diabetes. Sugar depletes your body of precious nutrients. Because when we talked about how the refining of sugar happens, the processed sugar, because all the vitamins and minerals and fiber have been stripped from refined sugar, your body has to pull on its own reserves of vitamins and minerals to break down that sugar. So not only are we putting in sugar that has no vitamins and minerals, but once we eat it, our bodies actually have to pull from other areas to break that down. Let's talk about sugar's impact on our body. It weakens our immune system. Sugar suppresses our white blood cells, which is our immune system, for up to 5 hours. 5 hours. So think about that here. Let's say you just downed a Coke, right? A can of pop, tons of sugar in that. And you go to the grocery store. Well, you just happen to walk by someone who, unbeknownst to you, is sick, and they sneeze, and you kind of walk through that. I know it sounds gross, but if your immune cells, your white cells I would kind of call them, they're kind of paralyzed for 5 hours. Well, you walk through that virus or that bacteria, and if your immune system were strong, it's like Pac-Man. They're able to go, oh, this is an invader, we're going to get rid of that. But if your white blood cells are paralyzed or compromised for 5 hours, they're just kind of laying dormant, and that's when that cold or that flu can get into your cell and take hold. So that's why it's so important to not eat processed sugar. It causes to chronic infection, cardiovascular disease. It contributes to inflammation and damaged blood vessel walls. Hypoglycemia, that just means when you get hangry, if you've ever heard of that. It leads to type 2 diabetes. I don't think that's a surprise. Your receptors no longer respond to the insulin produced in your pancreas, and the cells are less able to get energy from the food that we eat. Actually, sugar causes a lot of depression. It messes with our serotonin levels. Serotonin is our happy hormone. Weight gain, right? I don't think that's anything we really have to dive into, but it causes a lot of weight gain. Increased cancer risk. A major European study found women with high blood sugar levels are at an increased risk of developing cancer of the pancreas, skin, uterus, and urinary tract. High blood sugar was also linked to breast cancer for women under 49. It's no wonder. We just talked about way back when we used to have this much sugar. Now we're having this much sugar. What else is increasing, right? Dis-ease in our body. Are we addicted to sugar? You bet we are. Here's the question that I asked you earlier today. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. That's crazy. When we eat foods that contain a lot of sugar, there's a massive amount of dopamine. It's released into our brain's reward center. Dopamine is our pleasure neurotransmitter. It's that message that says, oh, it's a powerful feeling of pleasure and relaxation. What does that sound like, right? If we keep eating sugar, more and more sugar, our brain actually downregulates dopamine receptors, which means we need even more and more sugar to get that powerful feeling of pleasure and relaxation. What does that sound like? Sugar is so stressful. The blood sugar roller coaster. It causes enormous biological and chemical stress on our body and the brain. It's like you're running from a tiger all the time. It's that fight or flight, right? Your body doesn't know the difference. Your body doesn't know that you just, ate 3 cups of sugar. So it has that same feeling of, oh my gosh, it kind of revs up and you're in this fight or flight state. It ages. Constant ages. It ages the brain and the body, and it contributes to dis-ease in our body, like we talked about. So the one thing that will have the biggest impact on your health, the biggest impact, is to get off the roller coaster and have balanced blood sugar. Here's what we're going to gain if we stop with tons and tons of processed sugar, eliminating really, really weight loss, more energy. You're going to have so much better sleep, way less stress, especially on your body, healthier digestion. You're going to have those happy hormones. We talked about serotonin. You're going to overcome cravings. You're going to have a stronger immune system. You're going to have balanced moods. No more dieting. We know diets don't work. If they did, there'd only be one. We're going to have clear skin, and we're going to reduce chronic disease. Let's talk about artificial sweeteners. Sometimes we think that, are these better? We have Diet Coke instead of the real thing. These are like Splenda and Equal. They're found in diet foods like soft drinks, yogurts, chewing gums, etc. But actually, there was a research published in 2017. Actually, artificial sweetener increased blood sugar, contributes to obesity, increased risk of type 2 diabetes, and high blood pressure over time. You guys, it's also known as a carcinogen. That means it has actually been shown to cause cancer, in case you need another reason to avoid them. Healthy sugar. So honey, molasses, maple sugar, agave, dates. On one hand, yes, they're healthier options as they are less refined, which means they still contain their vitamins and minerals. These are way better, and I would much, much rather see you have honey or molasses instead of processed sugar. It's a way better option. They still break down quickly to glucose and will still cause a spike in blood sugar and an insulin response. However, it doesn't also come with all the other harmful effects. And we can talk more about if you're going to have honey, if you add something like fat to whatever you're eating, it slows down that insulin response. So we're going to watch these. Stevia seems okay so far. It's natural. It's derived from the leaf of the stevia plant, and it doesn't appear to have an impact on your insulin levels. Some people don't really like the taste of it, but it's a better option. So we're going to talk about 8 tips to kick sugar and curb the cravings. We can say it all day long. We know we all got in this call today knowing sugar is not great for us, right? But how do we get over that hump, and how do we stick to it? Tip number 1, amino acids. You guys, we need 8 essential amino acids post-puberty for your body to rebuild bone, hair, skin, muscle, and connective tissue. Essential means that our body can't make them on our own. So our body does make amino acids, but these 8 or 9 essential amino acids means that we have to get them from a food source. Unfortunately, due to the soil health, the shikimate pathways in plants are being compromised. Shikimate pathway that's actually what creates the 8 or 9 amino acids, okay? But huge pieces of information is missing, which is contributing to our exhaustion and our degenerative stress states in our body. When we eat food, whether it's meat or plants, our body can really only absorb between 11 and 36% of the protein that we're eating. Tip number 2, sweet plants. You guys, your tongue has sweet taste buds and they demand to be satisfied. But what if you try to naturally satisfy those with sweet foods and spices like pumpkin, sweet potato, carrots, beetroot, berries, apple, cinnamon, coriander, nutmeg, and cloves? We can't just say for the rest of our lives, we're not going to have anything sweet, because we actually have taste buds that want them. Tip number 3, superfoods. Get your greens from deep regenerative soils. We just talked about how horrible our soil health is. And if you want some more information on that, just let me know. I have a whole video on what is going on with our soil today, what is regenerative farming compared to fast farming or even organic farming. I can definitely get that to you. You want organic, sprouted, non-GMO, kosher, and dried in the wind at 88 degrees or less. If you're going out there and purchasing, we have to supplement nowadays just because we can't get it from our food sources until the soil gets better. If you have these superfoods, it helps with the feeling of satiation. That just means that you're like satisfied. You no longer crave other things because your cells are finally getting the food that they need. So you'll notice less sugar cravings. You'll feel more satisfied. You'll have more energy throughout the day. Tip number 4, glyphosate and soil. Glyphosate is what we just talked about. That's the pesticide and herbicides that they're spraying on everything. We have a soil health epidemic. Less than 1% of the Earth's soil is actually deemed nutrient dense. So we're lacking our essential amino acids and we're lacking the majority of our micronutrients in the soil. We spray 2.5 million pounds of chemical pesticides a year in the United States. And glyphosate is directly linked to Hodgkin's lymphoma, autoimmune disease, autism, Alzheimer's, ADHD, etc. And science is really contributing the rise in disease to the exposure of this chemical. So here's something to think about. When I talked about the soil health and less than 1% of the Earth's soil is actually deemed nutrient dense, you would have to eat 100 conventionally grown carrots to equal the same nutrient, the nutrition in one regeneratively grown carrot. So the way that our food is made and grown matters. So look for anything and everything. If you're going to be going out and getting and supplementing, make sure they're regeneratively grown from a regenerative farm. And otherwise you're literally just wasting your money, right? Tip number 5, we have to fix the gut. We have to rebuild the gut microbiome. You're going to want to find a third-party tested, scientifically proven product to remove the glyphosate out of your body. And also reduce the C-reactive protein, which is something that helps with inflammation, systemic inflammation. Glyphosate, it actually creates something in our gut called mucoid plaque. It's like almost like tar. And so we need to remove that. And so you want to find a product out there that's all food, herbs, things that are not sprayed, obviously, and it's out there. And you want something that is third-party tested, not the company itself, third-party tested, scientifically proven. Your gut microbiome, it's your immune system and also your brain. It controls the health of your endocrine system and it controls the health of your hormones. It controls your sleep. It makes your serotonin, your dopamine, etc. So the gut is a massive place of health in your body. And when we fix the gut, we help fix those cravings for processed sugar. Tip number 6, protein. Eat protein for breakfast instead of cereal and bread that raises your blood sugar. A plant-based protein shake with ingredients that are organic, grown in regenerative soil, it makes a huge impact in your day. Protein slows the absorption of glucose so we don't get that big spike up the roller coaster. It makes us feel satisfied for longer. A good protein-rich breakfast does wonders and it curbs those 3 p.m. sugar cravings. So if you find yourself like around 3 p.m. like, oh my gosh, I just had this craving for sugar or for something that's not necessarily healthy, think back, what did you have for breakfast? Tip number 7, tart cherries. You guys, tart cherries are amazing and tons of people are talking about them now, but you're going to want to look for something they're cold pressed because it helps reduce inflammation in the body, helps your body produce its own melatonin so that you can get deep sleep. There's a saying out there that if you take it, you don't make it. So wouldn't it be better if your body made its own melatonin? And a lot of our melatonin is actually made in our gut. It actually has antioxidants, phytonutrients, and high levels of vitamin C, which helps you absorb iron and helps you assimilate other nutrients properly. It's better, it gives you better collagen in your skin, brighter, tighter skin, better sleep, and less inflammation overall. And also, you're going to want to do a parasite cleanse. Do a parasite microbial cleanse to kill off things like candida, yeast, fungus, and overgrowth of parasites or bad bacteria that's not supposed to be existing in the gut microbiome. Processed sugar cravings are often the result of an overgrowth of parasites. And once we eliminate those cravings disappear. So yes, we all have parasites in our body, and we get them from all kinds of things, from walking on the beach to our pets to eating, right? Just eating different types of foods. But it's interesting that most countries in our world, they do a parasite cleanse once or twice a year. And we are just now finally kind of coming around to like, oh, okay, this is the thing. And I've seen so many of my clients, once they incorporate a parasite cleanse into their body, into their lifestyle, it changes everything. And those cravings truly do go away. So let's talk about it. We're going to conquer those cravings, right? Really think about, what are your biggest cravings when it comes to sugar? What is the time of day? And how do you try to curb those cravings? How do you feel if you give in to sugar cravings? You guys, willpower won't work. It just won't work. It's a finite resource, and we only have so much of it. We exhaust it on so many other things throughout the day. Literally just getting out of your cozy bed in the morning when you hear your alarm go off. I mean, once you get, that's willpower. You have to turn off your alarm, take those covers up, and you have to get up. Going to work out in the morning or at night, that takes willpower. Waiting patiently in line, finishing a task we hate doing. By the time 3 p.m. rolls around and we need to rely on willpower not to eat that cake, we're out of willpower. Deprivation won't work. Being super strict and depriving ourselves does not work either. What happens when you say you're never eating sugar again? Right? It's all that you think about. It's all that you want. It's a mindset, especially if you're addicted or you're an emotional eater. Remember dopamine? Dopamine is those feel good receptors, relaxation. It's your own brain you're trying to fight against here. You cannot win. Tough love won't work. Some people punish themselves for being weak and giving into cravings. They might work out at the gym harder to compensate. They say awful things to themselves. They feel guilty or ashamed. Not eat dinner to make up for their earlier binge. You guys, this approach does not work. You want to know what does? Cravings are actual messengers. Cravings are the body trying to communicate a need or desire. Maybe if you're not happy in an area of your life, it's sometimes so much easier just to reach for sugar than to deal with what's really going on. Anytime you feel like you're reaching for food to self-medicate, it's time to step back and listen. Ask yourself, what are you really hungry for? Especially if you've already done those 8 tips that we talked about. Did you do a parasite cleanse? Have you incorporated superfoods into your lifestyle? Are you satiating your cells? What do you really crave? Most of us are malnourished due to the depleted soil. Whether I'm sitting across from a client who is wanting to gain muscle or who wants to lose 100 pounds, I tell them, you're malnourished. We all are. Our soil is depleted. We talked about that. You need to eat 100 carrots to equal 1 regeneratively grown carrot. You guys, we have 75 plus trillion cells in our body, and they're not being nourished. Once we nourish those cells with superfoods grown in regenerative soil, it's a game changer. Remember, healthy cells, 75 plus trillion cells equal healthy tissues, glands, and organs. We cannot have disease if we have healthy cells. Gut health is one of the biggest reasons for sugar cravings. We heal the gut, we're going to heal those cravings. Parasites, another major cause of sugar cravings, and we already discussed that, the importance of getting rid of those. So I'm only one person, and I only take on a handful of clients at a time because I truly, truly give my all when I'm working with clients. But I'm so passionate about really getting this information out to people. And so that is why I like this type of a format, to be able to talk to all of you at once so that you can take this information and you can go and you can run with it. You can go and you can look for organically grown superfoods. If you want to know the ones that I use in my clinic that I refer to my clients, absolutely reach out to me. I will leave that information here. And at the end of this, I'll stop the recording and I'll take some questions and answers. But if you want to apply to work with me one-on-one, like I said, I take a handful of clients at a time because my clients get me basically 24 hours. We work together to meal plan. We work together to really customize a plan that works for their life. If they're going out to dinner with friends, we look at and plan ahead. I look at the menu and we discuss, okay, ask for with this, ask for it without that. At the grocery store, if they're not sure on a particular product, they send me pictures of the ingredients. So I'm very, very involved with my clients' success. And all of my clients that I work with are successful. They feel better. They have tons more energy. Their inflammation goes away. We heal the gut. They're no longer craving that processed sugar. It's not a matter of, I can't do it anymore. I can't have that piece of candy or that pop. It's literally, I don't want it anymore. When your body is healed and healthy and we give it the right environment, it craves the food that your body was created to use and to utilize. Think about this. When you go to the gas station, right, you have one option for fuel for your car. For your car to get from point A to point B, you have one option and it's gasoline. That's what it needs for fuel, right? You don't have a ton of different options. When you go out into the world, to the grocery store, just look out into like all the fast food restaurants, you have millions of options for fuel for your body. Your body was created for fuel. That's what your body needs to get from point A to point B. And unfortunately, what the world has labeled food does more harm to our body than good. So I hope this talk helped. I hope it gave you something to think about. Really, what I want you to know and understand is there's a way to make this not so difficult. We know, I think we all agree that processed sugar isn't great for us, right? It just isn't. Most people agree with that, which is so, I love that it can bring us together, this topic. So I asked you a question in the very beginning. Do you agree or do you disagree? Could cocaine be could sugar be as addictive as cocaine? With everything we talked about today, is that true or is that not true? What do you think? So I have so enjoyed talking with you guys today. Again, I'm here for you. I love walking alongside you on your journey. We have one life. I want to live the very best life that we can possibly live. I want the energy. I want that for you. I want to just watch you thrive. So cheers to sugar freedom. And I'm going to stop this now. And I'm just so excited for those of you that are going to apply to work with me. I'm excited to work with you one-on-one. For others, there will be other opportunities for us to gather again and tackle another topic. Until then, sugar freedom.